New World Season 8 is here. And there's actually quite a few things in here that I personally didn't expect. Some good, and maybe a little bit bad in my opinion. So let's jump in. The patch is coming tomorrow morning if you're in Pacific time, tomorrow midday if you're in EU, 1 p.m. UTC to be precise. And then rather weirdly, the first thing they talk about are these preview events. Now, it's worth noting that these preview events are not coming tomorrow, they're coming at some time in the future that they will announce. Yes, we're not going to talk about the capture the flag, but that's coming. We're going to get 2 different maps apparently, and a new arena map. Then they talk about the new Outpost Rush map called Divide, but well, actually they talk about the new mode Bare Bones now. Originally, this was on the roadmap as just as a preview, but it actually sounds like this is just happening. Bare Bones basically means you have no perks. It's literally just your weapon and I'd say your gear score, but everybody's getting the same gear score, so not even that. But apparently that's just going to join the rotation. There have been some changes to the Cold Divide map as well. The most interesting of which might be this bit where they've updated the Baroness score to be 1 minute for the winning team and then up to 2.5 minutes for the losing team. So basically, if you're losing and you get Baron, it lasts longer. If you're winning and you get Baron, it's shorter. To try and make it so that if the winning team gets it, it's not a death sentence. And if you're behind and you get it, it's more rewarding and it actually gives you a chance to catch up. I say that was the biggest. This is probably the next biggest one for me because it's what I've wanted for a long time. At the start of each game now, you're going to start with 50 Azoth. So you can buy those cleansing potions and actually play the game. Fantastic. I really hated the fact that if I really wanted to get those cleanse potions, I had to go out of my way to get them. I never did. Therefore, I very rarely had the cleanse potions, but they're actually super duper strong. So now I will just get them. Fantastic. They've changed the fuse time for kegs. You now spawn in waves, which I mean, kind of like was, right? I'm not sure that's a good idea. It feels like it'll be longer before you get to spawn, but maybe it sometimes be quicker. Probably longer, right? Because you kind of spawn semi-instantly. Not really instantly, but yeah, we'll see. They've also reduced the invincibility time to 10 seconds, but it starts as soon as you leave, as soon as you spawn. So that's probably a good change there as well. Oh, and for some people, I think probably healers, you can now monitor your entire Outpost Rush team as using the Rage UI, which I think is probably a good thing, probably for healers, but maybe for other people as well. In the original map, they've made a couple of changes, which they're calling Nathanos Island, which I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The Assault Outpost has been redesigned so that you can get a couple of new ways to capture and defend the middle of the map. Basically meaning it's less of a choke point. Okay, we'll have to see what that is. And then you can see it there on the screen, right? Hourly map rotations. I was thinking they were going to make this like once every week, but no, they're literally going to make it so that the maps rotate every hour. Now, for Outpost Rush, that's not going to take effect just yet, but it is going to work for Arena. So the 2 Arena maps, that's just going to change every hour. And then eventually, I think Outpost Rush will be added to this. The reason it's not is that the new Outpost Rush map is like Cold Divide is going to be what we start with for a couple of weeks, I would assume. But I mean, yeah, it's a good change. I'm kind of surprised they can do it that frequently, but yeah, I think that's nice. Then we have the seasonal hardcore server, but it's also worth noting that this is coming in June. This previously said coming in early June, and I wonder if they're moving this because of Dune Awakening. Perhaps. I'm not going to go through it, but it's going to feature effectively like a really streamlined leveling process, so it's very quick. The MSQ is very cut down, so you don't have to bother getting everything and unlocking everything. You just need to do a very short MSQ. The crafting is going to be way easier. You can be able to craft every artifact as well. Not craft them, sorry. Unlock every artifact when you get them. But you can craft the artifacts as well. I think that's part of the thing. Maybe I'm misremembering. There's 2 kinds of like tiers of deaths. You're either like set 1 and 2 is going to be available to all the players. That includes people who have died, and if you die, you get 25 attributes per time you die and per attribute. But the set 3 rewards are exclusive to people who have remained unfallen and have not died. It's basically just going to be cosmetics and possibly a tile. Oh, there's a tier 3 trophy crafting materials apparently as well. You do get that special material though to craft any artifact you want, so if you're like waiting for Serenity, you've not got it yet, maybe do this. But they're claimable on any character but just once. And rather sadly, you can't keep this character, which for me I think kind of defeats the purpose of it, like an achievement, but you know, it is what it is. They also talk about the season pass rewards here, but to be perfectly blunt, I don't really care about that. The barbershop we know is coming in, so you can now change your appearance. It is worth noting that it is 10,000 marks of fortune, and some of you are going to kick off at that. I would say you're probably not going to need to change your appearance that often. And if you do, well, they're going to milk you. You can pretty much change anything though, all of the classic stuff that you would expect. The Expeditions Unleashed world bosses are coming. This is going to be like, I think it's 1 boss per month for a week, I think. So 1 week every month, you're going to have a new boss. And it'll have leveled up gear 715 to 725. Although apparently one event actually guarantees you a 725 and then the rest are just whatever, right? Alright, I mean, I'm kind of bored of world bosses in New World, I'm not going to lie, but maybe. There's going to be the new artifacts, which we've already kind of gone through. I'm not going to go through them too much. In fact, I'll not go through them at all. There's the new artifacts. You can see them. Now, the combat adjustments we did already know about as well. The new potions, the burst regen potion, which is going to give you a small burst of healing and then a more like a prolonged regeneration over time. The health shot potion, which is a slightly less health, but also less cooldown. The shield potion, which is you just, you know, if you get 3 hits, that's just negated. The grit potion, it gives you grit for a period of time, and lifesteal, it increases all the power of your lifesteal. All right, fair enough. Now, this next section with the target lock is actually huge. Effectively, what they're doing is nerfing target lock, but boosting aim assist. And you might be like, oh, that sounds a little bit bad. But actually, it's probably a good thing. It's what most traditional games actually have, like if you play on console. Importantly, though, a lot of people don't realize this. Target lock will now no longer work when you aim down sights. So if you're going to play like musket or bow, lock on in a clump and try and shoot, you're not going to be able to aim down sights, which is a massive nerf to them, to be honest. I think even some of the best players, sometimes you're just better using lock on. And definitely for a bad player like me, I was definitely worth using lock on for me. I'm not going to judge this. It's too early to judge. I think this is a good positive step though. And yeah, I like the way it's going. They're also adding some new gems, which is interesting and kind of unexpected, but there's going to be some jade gem perks and turquoise gem perks. The jade ones are effectively, well, when you have it on your weapon, it's going to put stacks of disease on the enemy. So, you know, reduces their healing by, well, 2.5 or outgoing by 1.25. Now, if you have that on your armor, actually, the disease duration will be less by a certain percentage. Bit of counterplay there. I don't know if I'd give up the raw damage to everybody else to add disease, but maybe you could find a use on your second weapon. Maybe that would make sense, and you could flick to that if you come across a healer. Yeah, maybe it opens up some possibilities. And the turquoise gem is effectively the same thing, but for armor pen and maybe against tanks. So this is against healers, and then this is for tanks. And then obviously you just get raw tanking stats if you have that equipped in your stuff, which I'm not sure about the percentages of onyxes and opals, and oh, I forgot what the other one is. Is it diamond? I'm not sure, whichever one's both. Actually, there's two that's both. One that's more one and more the other, but these are equal both, I think. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Armor pen, good for anti-tanks. Yeah, again though, will you commit that much to it, or is that just going to be good against like a lot of the medium melees? I mean, this could be really spicy, really. Then there's also going to be a couple of new, just like attack perks and armor perks and stuff like that. One of them is going to be Sundering Stacks that afflicts a stack of 4% rend, each stack lasting 6 seconds, but you can have a max of 5 stacks. Pretty dope, pretty interesting. Then we have Alternating Enchantment, where when you do a basic attack, it will then increase the damage of your next ability by 10%. And hitting an ability then increases the base damage of your next auto attack. Well, left click, I should say, normal attack. Found on melee weapons. Okay, pretty interesting indeed. Then you have Vital Synergy, which is all about stamina. While your health is below 50%, gain 20% stamina regen rate. While your stamina is below 50%, incoming healing is increased by 20%. Found on chest pieces. I mean, that heal one is pretty interesting. That could be good. And then I'm not really a fan of this one because I think there's too much haste in the game. I know a lot of people might disagree with me and be like, yeah, it increases the skill. I mean, I just find it really annoying. There's just some people that you can't chase down because they have haste and you don't, and you might be like, get wrecked, you should have haste as well. But then it means everybody has to have haste, and I find it daft. Anyway, I just don't. I think there's too much haste in the game, and if anything, we should look at nerfing haste. But that's just a personal opinion. What I would say though is that this one is going to gain 18% haste for 5 seconds after triggering a traversal action, which I assume is a dodge. Could also be a jump. Could also be an ability. Maybe. I do apologize, by the way. The sun, I've got all the like blinds shut, but the sun is just reflecting here. And if I put my hand out, it'll be like super bright. I can't fix it. I can't change it. Then you have Stop, Drop, and Roll, which would have been good when we had Burninator. So basically, dodging will reduce the damage of, well, the burn damage over time. That would have been superb against Burninator. And you could find it on your amulet. Don't think that one will see much use, to be honest, though. And maybe it will. Then I was talking about haste and how haste is kind of too much. Well, they're buffing haste because now you can get Potent Alacrity, which increases the potency of haste effects by 9%. And the reverse of that, this one decreases the potency of exhaust by 12%. So this will stop you getting slowed down, and this will make you faster. Then you can get, but these are armor perks, but you can get Anointed Potions, which is 3% increased healing from consumables. All right, nice. And then Anointed Lifesteal, which is going to increase your lifesteal. Really feels like they're leaning into lifesteal in this patch, which could be good, could be bad. Then they talk about the PvP camps. Open world PvP is getting an upgrade. The main thing there is if you're flagged in PvP and you make a camp, it will now be destroyable by somebody in a different faction. Okay, cool. There's the ready up in PvP now in Outpost Rush and arenas. Needs to be a certain percentage of people in Outpost Rush, and the spectator cam is coming. Then there's a whole section talking about the mutated expedition reward adjustments. I don't really do M3s, so this doesn't really mean anything to me, but the gist is they're going to make it easier to craft and better, right? That's the whole purpose of this. Easier to craft, better items, because those items that they added were pretty pointless. And now you don't even need to do the raid. You can actually just do M3s and still get the loot. I don't know if you can just do the raid and not do the expedition. I don't know. Then we get into some spicy patch notes. That was pretty much all of the overviews. So I'll skip where we repeat in the patch notes mostly, but the patch notes are looking pretty spicy. And what they're doing is, this might be a little bit confusing. What they're going to do is buff these items in PvE. So when they say it's increased by 12.2% on the bow, it's worth noting that they're nerfing it by an equal amount in PvP. So in PvP they will remain unchanged, but in PvE they will be stronger. So the bow is getting buffed, the musket is getting buffed, the blunderbuss is getting buffed, the flail's getting buffed, the ice gauntlet is getting buffed in PvE, Warhammer, Great Axe, Hatchet, Fire Staff, and even the Void Gauntlet. I mean, I'm not sure which ones aren't getting buffed there, but the obvious exception here would be the flail. There's a couple of flail nerfs in this whole thing. So I think I said flail then. I actually meant rapier. It's the rapier that's getting nerfed. Sorry, I said flail. Nobody's playing the flail. They could buff the hell out of the flail. I don't know if anybody would care at the minute, but I meant rapier. The rapier gets a bit of nerfs. It's obviously an accepted here. It's not here. So yeah, the rapier getting a little bit of a nerf. And what they're doing is they're not actually directly nerfing the rapier here. They're just buffing everything else in PvE, which is cool. Fair enough. They're also changing the fall off. Now, I think this applies. Well, I don't actually know if this applies to PvP, but I think it does. What they're doing is changing a couple of the things. One of the things they're changing is this fall off. Range fall off, reduced starting damage fall off distance of the bow from 40 meters to 30 meters. So actually you need to get a little bit closer, I think. Same for the musket, but from 50 to 40. And they've reduced the max distance of the musket optimal range passive to trigger at 40 meters instead of 50 meters. Again, just to get you a little bit closer. They've reduced the 100 con attribute bonus from 10% to 5%. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what that is. And then it's just a couple of fixes, most of which I don't think is worth going through. Again, I'll put a link to these patch notes in the video. If you want to go through everything, crack on. I'm just going to pick out what I think is most important, because actually quite a lot of fixes. Okay, quite a lot. But there's also some changes which are going to be interesting. For example, Malachite is getting increased. It's just getting stronger. Onyxes are getting stronger, which I think is in the weapon, right? When it talks about Onyx, it's not talking about the defensive one here. But Moonstone is getting nerfed. So basically, you know, there's a lot of slash damage. They said it's an incredibly popular or common damage type. So what they're doing is making it so that you can't reduce the damage as much, which will buff slash damage, which I know a lot of people will be like, but slash damage, sword and shield's really strong. I think this is kind of really supposed to buff like Great Axe and Great Sword. Sword and Shield I don't think is really in the mix here. Sword and Shield really used for its CC anyway. Keenly Fortified is getting buffed. Fractured Rend is getting buffed. Trenchant Rend is getting buffed. Grit Ward is actually getting a little bit of a nerf. Disdained Infliction is getting a little bit of a nerf because of a cooldown. Desperate Empower, which I should probably use, actually going to increase your haste when you're exhausted. I probably need that. I exhaust myself all the time. And then there's a couple of changes to mortal refreshments and power and energy and stuff like that. It sounds like they're going to go on the armor. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, or if we're going to need it. Vigor is getting increased per stack. Stamina recovery is getting nerfed. Leeching Flurry is getting a little bit of a nerf. The max armor values are going down, I think. Enfeebling Power Poison Shot is actually getting buffed because the duration of the weaken's going to be longer. Enfeebling Skewer is getting a little bit of a nerf in the duration. Leeching Cyclone is going to do less healing. Lasting Rain of Arrows is now going to do extra damage if you're further than 20 meters away. Deadly Flourish, though, it now means you're going to get your next attack's going to be a guaranteed crit. Ferocious Blade, which is the perk for Void Blade, that's going to have its life stealing reduced because it was pretty strong and probably still is. They're also nerfing some of the attribute bonuses that reduce the duration of dots. So the Dex one, for example, is going from 15% to 10%. Oh, not duration. It's actually nerfing the extension. So your dots will be shorter, but it'll be the dots that you cause, not dots on you. Although I guess it's technically kind of the same thing. And the 200 int one's going from 30% to 20% now. Now, this one's going to be a bit controversial. There are some weapons and abilities and armors, not abilities. There are some weapons and armors that have illegal combinations, like Frigid Dawn, where it has like Enchanted One and Elemental Aversion. Well, when it is an illegal combination, they're now going to nerf the percentage of that to make it so that it's fair, which may defeat the point of it even existing. So I'm not really sure how to feel about this, but some people might be annoyed because they possibly farm some of these. Also applies to the Dune footwear as well. On the perk front though, Serenity and Venom, because they have some illegal perks, Trenchant Strikes and Trenchant Crit perks, and these are going to also get reduced. There's a little bit of a change to potions. Where the potion or consumable shares a cooldown, instead of them all going on the same cooldown, the secondary, like the ones that share the cooldown, are going to go on cooldown at an 80% rate rather than the 100%. All right. They're also buffing regen serums back a little bit. They're also buffing Desert Sunrise, so they really don't like dots, I think, which is fair enough. A couple of changes to the artifacts. The wall kind of gets nerfed a little bit because it reduces your stam regen rate, but then they buff it a little bit with the elemental damage. Butcher's just having its raw power reduced. Survivor's Cult's stamina's going from 50 to 20, bit of a nerf there. Infernal's just having a little bit of a fix. Burninator will now actually put its damage dots on if you've got the flare passive unlocked. And then just a couple of other little changes here to Heart Runes. Dark Ascent, for example, is getting a little bit of a buff to AoE size and more iframes. Devourer, which is the wormy boy, is getting some iframes as well. Well, you can't be attacked, I think, can't be interrupted. Primal Fury is just getting buffed, I think. Then moving on to like some weapon specific stuff. The omnidirectional evade perk for the rapier is getting nerfed. Crescendo's getting nerfed. Momentum Ultimate's getting nerfed. And yeah, I don't know how big of an impact these are going to have. You guys let me know. Sword and Shield, not really anything crazy here. A lot of them I just fixes like the Ice Gauntlet, the Flail, the Blunderbuss, I think is having a little bit of, a slight change there. But the real big one is Fire Staff, which in PvP is literally just having its damage reduced by 3%. Just a straight up 3% nerf to the Fire Staff. I mean, I think the Fire Staff is a strong weapon. I don't know if I'd put it at like number 1 or anything like that, but I mean, they do. They're just straight up nerfing it. No massive changes to anything else, I don't think. They're changing Outpost Rush in a couple of other ways than they previously mentioned. For example, they're now going to be at the gate. There's going to be a center one where you get in and out, and then at the side, that's where you're going to actually like repair it and upgrade it. I don't know why that's the case. What they're doing is making it so you can only repair it one person at a time. You can't have loads of people repairing it. They've apparently fixed some of the actual floating grass on the Cold Divide, which is fair enough. I don't think I'm seeing anything that we missed, but if I am, let me know. By the way, if you go AFK in the arena now, you're going to get kicked, which I think is a bit weird in the arena. It doesn't happen when you're like in between rounds, so it happens if you're in the match. But I mean, why? I mean, maybe it's in case you get bugged. I don't know. Other than that, nothing too interesting apart from those fights it's going 1 hour early. A lot of fixes to the world and quests and stuff like that. There's also a lot of fixes to the dungeons and raids. Most of them are just tidying up like visual effects or fixing little things, that quirky things that could happen. That does apply to the Hive of the Gorgons first, but apparently a lot of the visual effects are actually now fixed. We'll see. Same applies to the Trial of the Devourer, the Worm Boy. Couple of changes. I say a couple of changes, quite a lot of changes to the AI for these enemies as well. I don't think there's anything particularly crazy here though. They've changed in a couple of ways how you get the perks. They've added to some of them to like the all the new perks and stuff like that to all of the pools that you can get in the world. But I mean, what I want to talk about though, I got a little bit distracted, I get a little bit ahead of myself, is they've added the Gorgonite Inductors to the faction shop. So now, I don't know if you technically need to do the raid. Like, I really think you probably can get everything without doing the raid again. Whatever. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but I kind of like the idea that you had to do content to get gear on some level, but now you just maybe... Does this go back to being able to be like RMT it? I don't know, maybe. Probably doesn't matter though, because it sounds like we're getting a progression rework in Season 9, so... Maybe this just doesn't matter. They're also actually changing the store. They've reduced the cost of a lot of items. All right, cool. A lot of fixes I'm just not going to go through. Some UI stuff. You can now apparently lock some heart runes that are tier 2 and higher. Just a lot of little things. I don't think most people care about these. They say here, changes so players must now claim compensations before transferring worlds. I would like to point out to anybody watching Amazon, I never actually got my Season 3 rewards that I actually paid for and never got. So I unlocked them, right? But I didn't actually claim the rewards from Season 3 and Season 4. And it was just bugged, I think, in Season 4. Or maybe it was Season 2 to Season 3. Either way, I can't remember which way around it was. Pretty sure it was the Season 3 rewards though. When it was bugged in Season 4, you like clicked it and then you just never claimed them. And then I never claimed them. I literally just don't have them. They've never given them me. And I technically paid for that. And via their own rules, I should have got that. But they never let me claim it. So I guess it sucks to be me. I'm not forgiving you for that one, Amazon. Just want you to know I'm not forgiving you for that one. I paid with my money. This is a big one. I kind of doubted this, right? But it's been confirmed because it's on the NVIDIA website. Effectively now, we have DLSS, and I think it's the version 4. I don't really know all the difference between all the technology here. But it's going to default to DirectX 12, and if you have an NVIDIA card, you can use that. If you have an AMD card, obviously you can still use the FSR, but this gives us the option for both. I believe there's also a new driver out, so if you are an NVIDIA enjoyer, you might want to get the driver and try this new technology tomorrow. I think that's probably every major thing here, to be honest. There's a lot of little things, and for all I know, there could be a little one that just like snuck in that's actually super duper interesting, and maybe I've missed it, but I don't think so. I've read it twice. There was one that I thought I saw and I've tried to check it again and I can't find it, and I can't remember what it was, so maybe I've missed something interesting. If there's something really cool, let me know in the comments below, okay? I interrupt this from the future. Well, basically, this has been announced while I've been making this video. The Capture the Flag preview weekend is actually this weekend. And there is an entire video, which I'm not going to watch now because I've just recorded that video and I'm going to put it out. But I guess it's going to tell us all about the Capture the Flag mode. So I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. But yeah, it actually starts on Friday the 16th and it's going to end on Monday the 19th. No special rewards or anything like that. It's just talking about how it's going to work. I think you kind of understand how it's going to work, right? I don't think it's anything crazy. 2 flags. You go get theirs. You bring it to yours. You can't bring it to yours if yours ain't there. So you got to go get yours back. Looking forward to it. Overall, I did kind of find it funny how they're starting with like, hey, we got previews this event. Like, hey, we got our previews. Come and play these. But then they're not actually in the game. I do think overall, though, that a lot of these changes are positive. The as-off start change and stuff like that. I think even the hardcore seasonal server will be pretty cool when it comes. The time where it's like literally going to be like once every hour when it starts, I think that's a good change. It's nice to have the barbershop, even though it's like 10 quid or whatever it is, 10,000 tokens. If you care about that, you care about that. Yeah, I think it's some good stuff. I mean, obviously, let's be honest. Season 8, not that big. It's a balance change patch. It's not necessarily a content patch. I do really think Season 9 is going to be big and probably a paid expansion, which I know a lot of people are going to argue with, but it is what it is. And I think Season 9 is going to be huge. Going to have content, new zone, and all that kind of stuff. Season 8, like Season 7, potentially could be described as filler. Good changes, but probably the season of more filler. Even though I am actually excited about the Coral Divide, I'm just sort of a little bit not excited by the fact that I've now played it for 2 separate occasions. I don't think we really needed the second preview. I think that's kind of gimped it a little bit. Even the first preview sort of took the shine off it, but then again, I guess like if you have a PTR, that takes the shine off it. But everybody playing it, some people don't bother with the PTR, so I think maybe that's also taking the shine off it. Either way, whatever. It's the season. It's here. It's coming tomorrow morning. I'll be streaming it on Twitch. Make sure you come and watch me. Have a beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.